My heart was pounding in my chest as I watched my friend John have an epileptic seizure in the middle of the restaurant. But when a middle-aged woman named Karen started yelling at us, mistaking the seizure for a tantrum, I knew things were about to get even worse. Little did we know, this was just the beginning of an intense and frightening ordeal. Here's how it all went down. My name is Sarah, and I'm a 25-year-old woman. I was at a restaurant with my friend John when he had an epileptic seizure. It was a scary moment, but I knew what to do. John has epilepsy, but not the kind that makes you lose consciousness completely. It's called a partial seizure, and it can be just as dangerous. The other customers in the restaurant were looking at us, confused and concerned. But then Karen, a middle-aged woman at a nearby table, stood up and started yelling at us. "What's going on over there?" she shouted. "Can't you keep your friend under control?" I could feel my blood boiling as I looked at her. "He's having a seizure," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "He needs medical attention now." But Karen just sneered at us. "Oh, please," she said. "I've seen this a million times. He's just having a tantrum. You should be ashamed of yourselves causing a scene like this." I could feel my hands shaking with anger as I looked at her. "We're not causing a scene," I said, my voice rising. "We're in the middle of a medical emergency and you're making things worse. Now get out of our way or I'll make you." Karen's face twisted into a sneer. "You can't make me do anything," she said. "This is a public place and I have every right to be here." "I don't care about your rights," I said, my voice rising. "I care about my friend's life. Now get out of our way or I'll make you." Karen hesitated for a moment, and I could see the fear in her eyes, but then she squared her shoulders and stood her ground. "I'm not going anywhere," she said. "You can't make me." I could feel the heat rising in my face as I looked at her. How could someone be so heartless and cruel? I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. "Fine," I said, my voice cold and even. "If you won't move, I'll make you." I took a step forward, ready to push Karen out of the way if I had to. But then I felt a hand on my shoulder. "Excuse me, ma'am," a voice said. "I'm a medical professional. Can I help?" I turned around and saw a man in a white coat standing behind me. He had a stethoscope around his neck and a calm expression on his face. "Yes, please," I said, feeling the relief flood through me. The medical professional knelt down next to John and started to examine him. Karen was still standing nearby, looking smug. "What's the problem here?" the medical professional asked, looking up at Karen. "He's just having a tantrum," Karen said, her voice dripping with disdain. "He needs to leave." The medical professional looked at her for a moment, then turned back to John. "Do you have epilepsy?" he asked. John nodded weakly. "Yes," he said. "I have partial seizures." The medical professional nodded, then looked up at Karen. "This man is having a medical emergency," he said. "He needs medical attention, not your ridicule. Please step aside and let us do our job." Karen looked taken aback for a moment, but then she squared her shoulders and stood her ground. "No," she said, her voice firm. "I won't move. He's just trying to get attention." The medical professional looked at her for a moment, then stood up and pulled out his phone. "Fine," he said. "I'm calling the police. You can explain to them why you're obstructing a medical emergency." Karen's face turned pale and she took a step back. No, she said, holding up her hands. "I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry." But it was too late. The medical professional had already called the police and they were on their way. Karen slunk away, looking embarrassed and defeated. I turned to John, who was now sitting up and looking much better. "Are you okay?" I asked. He smiled weakly. "Yeah," he said. "I think so. Thanks for your help." I smiled back at him, feeling relieved. "Of course," I said. "I'm just glad you're okay." Just then, the manager of the restaurant came over to us. "I'm sorry about the disturbance," he said. "Is there anything I can do to make it up to you?" I shook my head. "No, it's okay," I said. "We're just happy that John is okay." The manager nodded, then turned to John. "Is there anything we can do for you?" he asked. John shook his head. "No thank you," he said. "I just need to rest for a bit." The manager nodded, then turned and walked away. I looked around the restaurant, feeling relieved that everything was back to normal. Just then, a woman at the next table leaned over to us. "Excuse me," she said. "I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for what happened. You didn't deserve that." I smiled at her, feeling grateful for her kindness. "Thank you," I said. "That means a lot to us." The woman smiled back, then turned back to her lunch. I turned to John, feeling happy that we had such good people around us. I never thought a tattoo could be a deal-breaker in a relationship, but when my fiancé surprised me with one in the most unexpected place, I knew something had to give. It wasn't just about the tattoo itself, but what it represented about our relationship. Here's how it all went down. As the title says, I don't like tattoos. I don't think you are special for having one, nor do I think you are a deep person for getting a random Chinese character on your skin. I especially don't like those intricate big tattoos that cover a lot of skin. I just don't like them. Having said that, I have friends who have all of the above, and that's fine. It's not on my skin, it doesn't bother me. And as long as we can talk about anything else, it's all fine. Enter my soon-to-be wife. We've been together for 5 years. She is painfully aware of my feelings, but she still wanted to have a tattoo before we marry, a symbol of us to carry with her. I didn't really like the idea, but what could I really do? I love her, and what harm can a tattoo do? We talked about where she should have it done, the back of the wrist, the shoulder, on her leg, on her back, tramp stamp, etc. She goes and has it done, and I can't be there with her because I have an important client visiting at work, and time off is impossible. She texts me during work, telling me it's done and that she loves me. I ask for a picture of the end result, and she tells me that tonight it will be a surprise. So I finally get home, and she's dolled up in a super tight black dress and stockings, ready for a night of fun. She tells me to go have a shower, and she will have dinner ready in the meantime. I ask to see the tattoo, but she tells me later. I am frustrated, so I go have the shower, come back, and have dinner. Then we go to the fun stuff. I didn't see the tattoo on her wrist or legs, so I think to myself it is either on her back, upper thigh, or her shoulder. I am fine with that. I undo her zipper in the back, and then she returns and lets her dress down. Instant boner killer. She had it done on her chest, above her breasts. It's big and in your face. It leaks above her breasts, like on top of the breasts. It has thick contours. Yeah, this didn't go well with me. She completely ignored my opinions, disregarded the places where we agreed she could have it done, and it's a monstrosity of a tattoo in a place where I will always have to see it if we make love, or she wears a bikini or something that has a cleavage. It is also something that is personal to me. Of all the things she mentioned the tattoo will be, she never told me about this. She said she wanted it to be a gift to me, to show me her dedication. I feel disrespected and ignored, like my wishes and desires have no meaning to her. To me, it shows what she thinks my status will be in our relationship, that she will just be able to go over anything I say and make drastic decisions without caring about the consequences. Well, a consequence of this is that I am calling off the wedding. She is in freak-out mode, saying she thought I would like it, that she wanted to show her dedication to me, that she will have it removed. Basically, anything she thinks I want to hear. My side of the family understands my reaction. They know where I stand on this matter. They know that it wasn't something I pretended to hate but secretly loved. Her side of the family is split. Her mother is more conservative, so her motives are not too straightforward. Her father is on my side. Her sister is all in on dear sister's side. Her brother is neutral and doesn't want to get involved. To me, even if she gets the tattoo removed, it shows her willingness to ignore my side of things, do things her way, then scramble and try to fix the eventual fuck-up. I can't have that in a relationship. What do you guys think? The wedding is definitely off, and that decision won't be reversed. What steps would you take regarding the relationship? Is there anything worth saving here? Is this how she will always be? Or was this a spur-of-the-moment decision? Any advice will be appreciated. Thank you. A commenter asked, out of curiosity, what was the tattoo of? OOP replied, wings, with a heart in the middle. Inside the heart there is a symbol that is a birth sign I have on my body. OP also said, why I hate tattoos. All she knew is that I am not a fan of them, but not the reason. When I was younger, a lot younger, I was horribly abused by someone that had many tattoos. I don't associate people that have tattoos with abusers, but I am also not a fan of the tattoo culture because of it. She didn't know, because I never talked with her about it. I suppose I never wanted her to think I am vulnerable, or that I was. You can imagine, after these many years, my thoughts on the matter are still mixed. The OP left the following updates. I would like to thank those who provided feedback and perspective and have not outright called me a jerk. We will continue with the wedding as planned. We realize we still need to work on our communication, but we are also painfully aware how miserable we both were during this whole ordeal. This has been our first serious argument. What happened? Insecurity. She had this idea that I don't think she is dedicated to our relationship. She wanted to prove it somehow. Turns out, the end result wasn't something she was that happy with either. My initial reaction didn't help, and for the next few days things spiraled out of control. After the post here on Reddit, I decided we need to sit down and put our ducks in order. I love her, and she loves me, and there is no reason why we would not be able to untangle this mess. Why I hate tattoos. All she knew is that I am not a fan of them, but not the reason. When I was younger, a lot younger, I was horribly abused by someone that had many tattoos. I don't associate people that have tattoos with abusers, but I am also not a fan of the tattoo culture because of it. She didn't know, because I never talked with her about it. I suppose I never wanted her to think I am vulnerable, or that I was. You can imagine, after these many years, my thoughts on the matter are still mixed. Anyway, she was horrified to learn about this, started crying. She will have the tattoo removed. After the original post, I have come to the conclusion that her new skin decoration is something I will have to live with. But at the end of the day, she is the one I want, and a mild annoyance will not define our relationship. I told her this, but she will get it removed anyway. I think she is horrified by the revelation. We also decided on couples counseling, to see if it is something that will work for us. If either of us will be uncomfortable, we will not continue with it. We also decided not to be jerks to one another in petty matters. I will wear shorts again, goddammit. Haha, that was a funny conversation. We won't impose restrictions on one another. I will go out with friends and watch football with them again. She can go and meet her girlfriends. We will put a lot of work into ourselves individually, and as a couple. Turns out we have a problem with communication, but the prospects are positive. Her insecurities didn't want me to go out with friends because some of them are single, and what if they bring women there that tempt me? So she always had to be there. But she doesn't like football, so you can see where this is going. I am happy with the results of the original post. She is happy I took the initiative and broke the ice. My fears were she had the tattoo done as a power play, but there was no malice. I want a relationship of equals, where a decision can be made as a couple. We will see where this is going, but the last 2 days have been amazing. I was asked this question, so here is the answer. We live together. We own a house 50-50. The night of the tattoo reveal, I went to my parents. She went to her parents. Essentially, until 2 days ago, none of us lived at home. She said she doesn't want to be there if I am not there. As a closing note, this could have been a huge mistake for both of us. Communication is key. I urge couples out there to learn from my story and open up to one another. Had I done that sooner, I would have never been here. Thank you. OP added the following in an update. Hey, thanks for reaching out. This past week has been amazing for the two of us. She has already consulted a specialist in tattoo removal who is also a plastic surgeon. He has a recent type of laser that is apparently very effective at removing tattoos. He said there would be no significant scarring, maybe where the lines are really thick, but he thinks it will not be noticeable. Alternatively, if she goes for less intense sessions, it could be removed without any scars. She's happy about that. She also talked with the person who will do her makeup for the wedding, and they already tested a tattoo cover-up cream. Makeup? The tattoo opened all doors. We talked about our insecurities, needs and wants, and we know where we both stand. There is not much difference of opinion. She was very insecure about my dedication to the relationship since the grand gesture through the tattoo. Her insecurity was immediately confirmed by my reaction, because she rationalized that even if I hate tattoos, if I love her, I will work through it. She was lacking some information from my past though, and since we had time to talk, I hope she knows I am with her, and my reaction was not about her, or my feelings toward her. Love how this guy thinks he can just call off a wedding because of a tattoo. Like seriously? If you're that hung up on it, you probably shouldn't be getting married in the first place. And to be honest, his whole, I hate tattoos because I was abused by someone with tattoos excuse is just weak. You can't blame a whole group of people for the actions of one person. Plus, it's not like his fiancée knew about that trauma beforehand. This guy needs to get over himself and learn to communicate better with his partner. Just my 2 cents. I didn't think much of it when my mom and aunt told me my wife's dancing was inappropriate, but when my wife found out and was humiliated, I knew I had messed up. Little did I know, confronting my family would lead to a shocking reveal that would change our lives forever. Here's how it all went down. My wife, 29F, and I, 29M, got married last weekend. We've been together since the first year of university and got married on the 10-year anniversary of the day I asked her to be my girlfriend. We've grown up together, got through thick and thin, and I know there is no one else I want to spend my life with. For context, my wife is half Spanish, and we incorporated a lot of Spanish traditions into our wedding. It also meant that with all her family there, the reception turned into quite the party. I was pretty tired after dancing for a while, so I went to sit and talk with my family while my wife kept dancing with her cousins and friends. After a bit of chatting, my mom and aunt essentially told me that they weren't too pleased with my wife's dancing to songs like Low and Sexy Back, saying that her slut drops and wiggling her bottom like that weren't appropriate on her wedding day and were disrespectful to me. To be honest, I didn't see anything wrong with the way she was dancing. It was nothing more than I think any person would dance to songs like that in the club when they were having fun and had a couple of drinks, and I told them as such. They said I should tell her to tone it down, but she was having fun with her friends, and I didn't see anything gratuitous about it. Nor was she super drunk, so I told her it wasn't my place. We ended up wrapping up the party soon afterward anyway. The morning after, we had breakfast with my family, and my aunt mentioned to my wife that she was pleased that I eventually got her to tone down the fiesta. My wife asked what she meant by that, and my mom told her about the conversation from last night. My wife has told me about this. I was talking to my dad and uncle at the time and didn't hear. My wife apologized, but was then very quiet for the rest of the day, and when we left the hotel she was very upset with me, saying I should have told her that she had offended my family, and that she was humiliated that I hadn't told her anything about it on the night, like my aunt had assumed. I was sorry that she was humiliated, but I was not sorry that I hadn't told her to tone it down, because in my opinion, she didn't do anything wrong. She still thinks I should have just told her because now she won't have a good relationship with her in-laws. She doesn't have a good one with her parents. I'm mad at my mom and aunt and want them to apologize to us, but she refuses to bring it up with them, and wants to apologize again to them when they come over this weekend. I want to stand up for her because I think they're being incredibly rude, but she doesn't want that. She just wants to mend bridges. She's still upset with me because I don't see it her way, and because I'm not sorry that I didn't tell her. So am I the jerk? A commenter asked, "What do you mean table with your wife?" To which the OP replied, "When I say table with my wife, I mean I very urgently need to discuss with her whether these things have happened from my family before without me knowing it, and she hasn't said anything for the same reason. Her feelings are my first priority." The OP also said, "I'm very worried that my family has been rude to my wife because of her background. I don't know if I would call it racism, certainly xenophobia, and definitely unacceptable no matter what it's called. But nor do I think it's my place to because I'm a white British man who's never had to deal with it. But from what I understand from a lot of the comments here, British or European and American understandings of what constitutes race and racism are very different. I'm open to hearing opinions about it from the people who it affects." Another user asked, "Did your aunt or mom give any indication they were still upset at the end of the night?" To which the OP replied, "No, not really. The lights came on and everyone sort of just hugged and kissed each other as they left, and then our families all went to bed. If they'd been more cold-shouldered with either me or my wife, I would have probably given her a heads up. But to be frank, I thought I had made my position to them very clear when they had told me to get her to tone it down in the first place. Never did I expect that they would say something to her at breakfast." People concluded that OP is not the jerk. The OP left an update later. "Hi all, I was a bit shocked at the level of response to my post. Thanks for all the comments. I did read as many as I could. I talked to my wife. I apologized for not telling her what my aunt had said, and that it was only because I believed what my aunt had said had no merit, and that she as my wife was always going to be my priority, rather than placating them. She accepted my apology. She still was wary to try and confront them about it though, and I ended up saying something that I read in a comment that broke my heart, that my wife was probably more than anything grieving the loss of the new family she thought she was going to have, and she immediately burst into tears. So that commenter was spot on. Her parents went through a very bitter divorce that damaged their relationship with their children permanently. So it was a difficult conversation, but we came to the conclusion that we had to confront my mom and aunt in the hope of salvaging any relationship, though my wife wanted me to do it on our behalf. Fair. I called my aunt and basically let her have it. She wasn't apologetic at all and said some pretty nasty things that I won't repeat, so that was an immediate end to that relationship. I then called my mom to do the same, and she was very ashamed. For context, my aunt is her older sister, and we invited her because my mom and my wife wanted her there. My aunt had never met my wife, but my wife really wanted to meet my whole family. My mom grew up in a very conservative Christian household, and although she stopped believing, my aunt didn't, so there is distance and disappointment. My mom apologized to me and said she had been missing her sister, and had let herself get brought back into old habits. She wants the opportunity to make it up to my wife, but my wife and I have agreed on low contact for now, and we will see how we go. My wife did say okay to flowers and a letter that my mom wanted to send, but I told my mom pretty sternly not to expect anything from my wife, which she took pretty well. Most importantly, my wife now seems to be a lot happier. I don't know if our relationship with my mom will be as trusting ever again, but it will at least be one with clear boundaries. Part of the reason for the delayed update is that, amidst all this, my wife realized she'd missed her period. And lo and behold, she's pregnant. Cue panic because she drank at our wedding and this is totally unplanned, but otherwise we are ecstatic. We have not told anyone other than her mother and sister, and now we are going to have to really think about how this is going to work with my mom. But I am now feeling way more confident that we will be able to figure it out together. As long as my wife is happy, I do not care. This is such a mess. OP's mom and aunt are so rude and judgmental, and it's clear they have some major issues with OP's wife's background. And then they go and say something to her at breakfast. How embarrassing. OP, you did the right thing by standing up for your wife, and I'm glad you guys are working through this together. Congrats on the baby news, that's amazing. Honestly, I wouldn't blame you if you went no contact with those toxic family members. Keep being a good partner to your wife, and don't let anyone bring you down. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to check out another video on your screen. Subscribe to the channel now, or you're definitely the jerk.